armies of the United Nations have made their first landings on the soil of Western Europe. Another of the great decisive battles of world history has been joined. This is the day for which free people long have waited. This is D-Day.
And I was born in Cleveland, Ohio on September 3rd, 1918.
And that makes you 100 years and 2 months
Exactly.
of age.
Yes.
And
yes.
you're an amazing specimen for a centurion.
Thank you for that. I went to a camp on the Hudson River just north of New York City for debarkation to England.
Mm-hmm.
And finally it was decided that I would be part of this 3rd Strategic Air Depot in Watton, England, which is a little bit north of the larger town of Norwich, about 120 miles north of London, servicing B-24s and B-17 bombers. They were, as I've said, they were 10-man crew, and there was a heavy bomb load and 8 50 caliber machine guns, 4 in each wing, also waist gunners, 50 caliber machine gun waist gunners, and this midway on the fuselage of the airplane there was a bubble on the top of the fuselage, which was a gun in position as well, a 50 caliber gun and a nose gunner, and there was a tail gunner and a bubble on the bottom of the fuselage, all with 50 caliber machine guns. And so it was a bristling, battle-ready aircraft in every respect. They would also be attacked from time to time by the Luftwaffe, which was German fighter planes. Finally, our own fighter planes went to meet with them and shoot them down. So, but all that battle damage coming back right off the missions made it kind of a chaotic situation sometimes. I was in charge of a certain amount of inventory of airplane parts and getting it delivered to the mechanics working on the aircraft when they needed it, and getting familiar with the specifications of the parts so that I could pull the right thing when they order them. And
do you have a most memorable day while you were there?
I think it was when a B-24 had suffered a lot of battle damage and had 2 engines out of 4 engines, and they were trying to get back with 2 engines. Out of their 10-man crew, 3 had been killed and there was 4 badly wounded. The hydraulic system on this B-24 had been shot out, so it couldn't lower its landing gear, and it was firing red rockets out of the cockpit of the aircraft to let the people on the ground know that there was dead and wounded on board, and they would need help as soon as they stopped skidding on their belly to the end of the runway. So that was a memorable event for me. It was miraculous that the pilot, the co-pilot, could control it enough to get it back from the mission, and certainly to get it landed. So, and that sort of thing happened fairly often where I was there. And sometimes I would wake up in the morning before dawn, like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, 4:30, and I'd hear a dull roar, and I thought there must be a thunderstorm brewing. But it was not a thunderstorm. It was 1,000 heavy bomber airplanes headed for Germany. These bomber bases were all around us, within a 100-mile radius of where we were. And then we were getting close to D-Day. It had been planned for such a long time. I was sent to Birmingham, England, southern England, and at that time Hitler wanted to destroy London. So he was sending over these buzz bombs, which flew at very low altitudes to fly under the radar. And so they would fly across the English Channel. We were all sleeping in foxholes, and oftentimes they would land in the field next to us, and the field would shake. It would shake like literally like some unforeseen power was shaking the whole earth that you were living in part of. And then after that, D-Day occurred on June the 6th of 1944. this outfit that I was with in southern England was a P-47 fighter group. We were to be sent over there, but not until they could be made ready for us. So, and German resistance to the invasion was stiff, and for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we couldn't even get off of Omaha Beach, our infantry, because we were being pinned down by German machine gun fire and everything that they had to throw at us. We finally got the town of St. Lo in flames, and that's where General George S. Patton formed his Third Army, and the Army Corps of Engineers bulldozed an airstrip for our outfit near St. Lo, the town of St. Lo, and clad it with steel plating so that our P-47 fighter planes could land. And we were then called from Birmingham, England. We had been on standby there, waiting for this call. And we were called, and our aircraft landed on that strip, and we lived in pup tents from then on. And once we broke out of, our infantry broke out of St. Lo, General Patton and the Third Army and us almost raced across France. We had the German army on the run, and they were going fast, and we got so fast that our supply trains couldn't keep up with our mechanized units, our tanks and our mechanized military equipment, and we literally ran out of gas, and our advance had to be stopped. And quickly, what was formed was a Red Ball Express, and that consisted of many 10-wheel Army trucks, which would load up with gas on Omaha Beach on the coast. And that operation went on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And we finally freed Paris, and there was tearful Parisians and Frenchmen and much celebration, and I do remember that. We were more than welcomed by the French. We were put down at Omaha Beach on the ship that we were on, and then these smaller troop ships were what we rode to the shore in, and they would go full tilt as far as concerned to get as close to the shore as they could before they hit bottom, and then the gate would drop down and we would barrel out of there and get under the protection of the cliffs that were overshadowing Omaha Beach, and so that we were out of range of any fire. And then when it was more under our control, they transported us to St. Lo, or that area, which is where our new airstrip had been built, and we started to get that organized to receive our P-47 aircraft.
Do you have any recollection of how many were killed landing at Omaha Beach?
9,500 American soldiers were killed.
And they're buried there?
Yes.
Just a short distance?
Yes, yes. That's what happened. Even the waves lapping up on the shore were red with blood. It was a horrific situation, a chaotic situation. And it was, something you'll never forget. And I've never tried to remember it until now. I've not had any experience reciting what I'm telling you now, so if I'm a clumsy speaker, you'll have to excuse me because I've had no practice. And then about the middle of December, we found ourselves in a little town called Mormont-le-Grand, and the significant thing about that is that there's two significant things. One, the weather was terrible. It was snowing, low clouds, no visibility. Our aircraft could not fly. We were grounded for 2 weeks, and we were 9 kilometers from Bastogne, where our 101st Airborne Infantry Division had been surrounded by the German army, and they were beating them up. They were killing and taking American prisoners and taking our equipment. They were asked to surrender. They sent a white flag and a 4-man group to asked General McAuliffe, who was the commanding general of the 101st Airborne Division, to ask him to surrender, because if not, his division was going to be annihilated. General McAuliffe had some other officers around him, and he said, "What should I tell him?" The officer said, "Well, what do you feel?" And he said, "Nuts." They told him that's what to tell him. So that became history. His reply to the German officers was nuts. And they didn't quite know how to interpret that. The 101st Airborne was not moving out of Bastogne.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, after 2 terribly hard weeks of bad weather, we had some good weather, and our P-47s were able to take off. And we went over to Bastogne, and we bombed and strafed and fired our rockets into the German troops, the German tanks, and the German mechanized units, and we sent them scattering. And our 101st Airborne Division was freed up to rejoin the battle line. And General Patton was a audacious, colorful commanding general. So I was proud to have served under his command. The pride was justified by all of his accomplishments, of course. Then from there we went on as we pushed the German army back into Germany. We went on to a town that had been abandoned named Hanford, Germany, which was near the North Sea. It was an airstrip, and so our outfit landed there. And
what were the troops' reaction to just the horrific torture of the Holocaust and that sort of thing?
Well, it was. This is why we're here fighting this war.
So you knew it, and you believed it.
Absolutely, sure, yeah. This can't be allowed in the world we live in, and that's how we felt.
Outrage.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, outrage.
Yeah, it has to be changed. So that galvanized us all the more. In this 406 fighter group that I was a part of, there was kind of a blurry line between officers and enlisted men. We were all in this together, and we would do anything for each other, no matter what it was. So it gets a little emotional. And these men that I knew, the pilots, some of them didn't come back from missions. And we'd send a 14-plane mission out, and then so we'd have 14 of our squadron take off for the mission. And then when they were coming back, we would all line the runway to count how many were coming back. We hoped 14, but all too often it was 12 or 11. And then of course the anxiety of who didn't come back. But those are dramatic, chaotic things. It's an emotional thing. I'll make no bones about it. Because I knew these guys, and they were close to me.
What is your most vivid memory?
Well, I think it was the circumstance where we knew that we were only 9 kilometers from Bastogne, and that our 101st Airborne Division was trapped. Mm-hmm. We couldn't fly because of the weather. And I remember going to a church on Christmas Eve, and the longest, saddest faces on soldiers you've ever seen in your life. Then when the weather broke and we could take off and go do what we do best over Bastogne, that's a great feeling.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being with us today. And more importantly, thank you for your service to our country and a time where we needed every man and every woman and their dedication and their loyalty to the United States of America. Thank you for being here.
It was my honor to have served.
The face of freedom stands tall and proud, furrows wrinkle on her perfect brow, footprints on the moon, a star-spangled sight, as the eagle soared into dawn's new light. Let every nation know, whether friend or foe, this eagle will soar forever and evermore. Let every nation long to see, on bended knee, with the dawn of victory, the dawn of liberty. In the beginning, the message was clear. Let every nation hear, the sound of freedom is near. Now we say goodbye to centuries of strife and brush away the tears from freedom's eyes. Let every nation know, whether friend or foe, this eagle will soar forever and evermore. Let every nation long to see, on bended knee, with the dawn of victory, the dawn of liberty. What will it be? The dawn of liberty? Will the torch burn free, or be a tear-stained memory? Let every nation sing. Let freedom ring like chains of gold. Our anchor will hold. Let every nation know, whether friend or foe, this eagle will soar forever and evermore. Let every nation long to see, on bended knee, with the dawn of victory, the dawn of liberty. The dawn of liberty. The dawn of liberty. Let freedom ring.